Many people still wonder how to store coffee beans to keep them as fresh as possible. The most common advice is to freeze coffee beans or store them in, for example, vacuum canisters. In this video, we will focus on vacuum canisters. Are they effective and allow you to extend the freshness of your coffee? First of all, you should know that storing coffee in bags, or even worse, containers from grinders or automatic coffee machines is the worst idea. Such solutions cause air to constantly have access to the coffee, significantly accelerating the aging process and ultimately worsening the taste of the coffee drink. Grinder containers make sense when you prepare a lot of coffee per day, for example in a cafe. At home, I personally prefer single dosing, storing the coffee in a vacuum canister. When you buy coffee, especially good quality, specialty from a local roastery, you definitely want it to stay fresh and tasty for as long as possible. Also, make sure that the canister is not transparent. It is important that the stored coffee does not have access to light, which can also have a negative effect on the freshness of the coffee. At the beginning of my coffee adventure, I stored coffee in a grinder. I noticed right away that something was wrong, because changes in grind levels were necessary and the smell or taste of the coffee gradually deteriorated. Then, I started looking online to see what could be causing this, and I realized it had to do with the way coffee beans were stored. I didn't want to freeze the coffee because I buy 500-gram packages of coffee and don't see the need to freeze it. It would just add more work for me. That's why I decided to check the effectiveness of vacuum canisters for coffee beans. They are usually expensive, an example of which are fellow Atmos canisters. But you can also find effective canisters at a more acceptable price. Are these canisters effective? Definitely yes. Even though I store my beans for up to 2 weeks, they still smell almost as good as freshly opened. The taste of the coffee remains almost unchanged, and the grinder adjustments during this period are minimal. It should be noted that the effectiveness also depends on the quality of the canister and the storage method. These differ slightly. It is worth remembering that freshly roasted coffee beans releases gases. This may make it seem like the container is losing pressure, but it is actually the CO2 that is pushing out the button or vacuum indicator depending on what type of canister you have. For this reason, some users complain that vacuum containers lose their vacuum quickly, for example after 1 day, which is not true. There are many vacuum canisters available on the market. The canister I've been using the longest is the one from DeLonghi. It's made of stainless steel and a plastic cover. The principle of operation is very simple. Pour in the beans, cover the canister, and press the button until you start to feel resistance and the indicator is sucked in. This canister is very good and really maintains a vacuum for a long time. It can hold up to 500 grams of coffee. You can also find similarly designed canisters on AliExpress. Some of them are really well made, but there are comments that the vacuum does not last long. This may be due to the release of CO2 by the coffee beans and not a product defect. I bought a canister that did not have many reviews and it seems to work fine. The pumping is easier due to the smaller button. It is also made of stainless steel and the top cover is plastic, but this canister looks much better. The cover seems to be much more airtight than the DeLonghi one, although both are vacuum sealed, achieving the same effect. Fellow offers Atmos and electric Atmos canisters, which are much more expensive. The principle of operation is the same, although the electric version constantly monitors the pressure in the canister and automatically releases air if necessary. However, I do not think this makes a significant difference when storing coffee for a short time. There are also canisters that rely on pushing air out through the top cap, such as the AirScape. Personally, I prefer the standard vacuum canisters, which you remove air from with a push-button pump on the top. If you plan to store coffee for longer, even a year, it is recommended to freeze it. This allows you to maintain almost perfect freshness for a long time. There are suitable containers on the market adapted to specific doses. You can also use a vacuum sealer. You can immediately grind frozen coffee when needed. In my opinion, vacuum canisters are the best for short-term storage of coffee beans. They are not too expensive and definitely have the best effect on the freshness of the coffee. However, if you intend to store coffee for a long time, which is generally not recommended, it is best to freeze it. I hope this video helped you choose the right accessory for storing coffee. Thanks for watching, subscribe to my channel and see you in the next video.